building your own home. I mean, it should be one of the most exciting things you ever do, right? But there's this one little word, often buried deep inside your contract, that can turn that whole dream into a total budget nightmare. So today, let's talk about that word.
Just imagine this for a second. You're building your custom home. The framing is up, it looks perfect, the roof is on, and after all those months of planning, you are finally seeing your vision come to life. It feels like everything is going exactly to plan.
And then, bam, this happens. You've picked out the perfect light fixtures, the exact flooring you wanted, all the faucets, and out of nowhere, your builder hands you an invoice for thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars you never planned for. This is budget shock. And let me tell you, it's painful, it's super common, and it's almost always avoidable. So, how does this even happen? I mean, how does a project with a great builder and great clients go so completely off the rails financially? Well, the answer usually comes down to a really common but widely misunderstood term in your build contract. You know, builders will tell you that the #1 source of friction, of arguments between them and their clients, boils down to one single word: allowances. Really understanding what this word means is the absolute key to protecting your budget and making sure your dream build actually stays a dream. Okay, so to avoid any confusion, we've got to get crystal clear on 3 different financial terms that control your money. They are not the same thing, and mixing them up is just a fast track to big problems. So let's define these big 3. First up, an allowance. The best way to think of this is like your personal shopping fund. It's a specific amount of money that's set aside in the contract for things you definitely need, but you just haven't picked out yet. You know, like your kitchen cabinets, your countertops, that kind of stuff. It's just a placeholder for these known unknowns. Next is contingency. This is a totally different beast. This is your emergency fund. It's for the true unknown unknowns. This is the project's insurance policy for things nobody could have possibly predicted, like hitting a massive shelf of solid rock when they're digging the foundation. And what's really crucial here is that it is not for covering your design choices. And finally, the whole thing is wrapped up in what's called a fixed price contract. This is your total price tag, the bottom line for the entire build. So here's the most important point. Your allowances, that shopping fund we talked about, are already baked inside this total price. Your final price is only truly fixed if you stay within those allowances. All right, now we're getting to the most important detail in this entire explainer. Seriously, this is the one thing that costs homeowners the most money. It's a tiny distinction that can quietly blow up your budget by thousands and thousands of dollars. So when your builder gives you, let's say, a $10,000 cabinet allowance, what is the single most critical question you need to ask? It's this: is this a materials allowance or is it an installed allowance? And here's why that question is so important. A material allowance on the left covers only the price of the item in the box. That's it. It excludes sales tax, delivery fees, and, this is the big one, the labor to actually install it. This is where budget shock comes from. An installed allowance, on the right, is the whole shebang. It's the complete, all-inclusive, ready-to-use price. This gives you budget clarity. So here's the pro tip, the golden rule. You have to assume every single allowance is material only unless your contract explicitly states in writing that it is installed. Do not just accept a verbal, "oh yeah, that covers everything." You have to get it in writing. A transparent, honest builder will have absolutely no problem doing this for you. Okay, so now you've got the knowledge. Let's shift gears and talk about how you can actually use it. We're going to arm you with the tools you need to defend your budget before you ever sign that contract. So the single biggest red flag, it's an allowance that just feels unrealistic. You know, too good to be true. Some less than honest builders might intentionally lowball their allowances to make their total contract price look cheaper than their competitors. They know a $1,500 appliance allowance for a custom home is a joke, but hey, it helps them get the job. So how do you protect yourself from that? It's actually pretty simple. 3 concrete steps. First, for every allowance, ask for the basis. What specific make and model is that number based on? Second, get a specification sheet that details all of the builder's standard materials. And third, and this is probably the most valuable advice, take that allowance list and go shopping yourself before you sign anything, just to see what that money actually gets you in the real world. Now, even when you have a solid, well-researched plan, you might decide to splurge a little on one item or maybe save some money on another. And that brings us to managing your budget once the build is actually in progress. So let's just say your plumbing allowance is $7,000, but you fall in love with a faucet and a tub that come out to $9,000. Okay, that's a $2,000 overage. Simple enough, right? But your true cost isn't just that extra $2,000. You have to go back and check your contract for the builder's markup, which is basically their profit and overhead fee on any overages. Now, this is a totally standard practice. So if their fee is, say, 20%, they're going to add that percentage right on top of your overage amount. So that $2,000 choice now has a true cost of $2,400. This isn't some hidden fee if it's in your contract, but it's something you absolutely have to be aware of as you're making your selections. And this brings us to the most important habit you can possibly have during your build. Every single change, whether it's an overage or even if you've saved some money, it must be documented in a signed change order. This is your legal and financial paper trail. No verbal okays, no approving things over text message. A builder who's sloppy with paperwork is going to be sloppy with your money.
So let's put this all together. Building a home, it should be a precise, predictable process. It should not be an emotional and financial roller coaster. So here it is, your 5-step plan to eliminate surprises and keep you in the driver's seat.
1. Demand precision in your contract. Get that word installed in writing for every single allowance. 2. Get the builder's spec sheet so you know exactly what your quality baseline is. 3. Create your own selection sheet to track your spending as you go. 4. Use a formal change order for every single change, no exceptions. And 5, hire a partner who values integrity, someone who welcomes your questions from day one. You see, allowances aren't traps. They're not the enemy. They're actually a necessary tool that gives you, the homeowner, the freedom to make personal choices. The problems only pop up when there's a lack of transparency. When you demand that transparency, you turn their flexibility into your power. At the end of the day, you're not just building a house. You are entering into a major, long-term financial partnership. And when you understand how allowances really work, you're no longer just a passenger along for the ride. So the real question becomes, are you hiring a builder who is ready and willing to have you as their co-pilot?